Now call the Crosby Township Board of Trustees meeting to order for October 9th, 2023. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Oh, this is two.
Here.
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 Approval of the minutes for the regular meeting held September 11th, 2023. Roll call.
Well, there's a couple typos, but other than that, it's correct. So,
Yeah, I understand one typo.
Just clerical errors.
Yeah.
Okay.
You found one?
yeah, 3 instead of an E.
Okay. Yeah, I noted that.
I second it. Yep.
So is there a motion?
Working on it. You make the motion, Chuck?
I make a motion with the
He said
correct-
second. He thought you made a motion. You were just commenting, highlighting my errors, my fat
I'll
fingers.
second it. Chuck makes it.
Okay.
So roll call.
Lohman,
Yes.
Hyam,
Yes.
Heis.
Yes.
Approval to pay the bills as have been presented over the past month.
So moved.
I second.
Roll call.
Lohman,
Yes.
Hyam,
Yes.
Heis.
Yes.
Correspondence, me. West Jad meeting was supposed to be last Thursday, but several people were going to be out of town, so they moved it to this Thursday, the 12th at 5:30, which is in Miami Town, next to the firehouse. That's a public meeting. I will be there
Which Thursday is it?
this Thursday.
This coming
the
Thursday?
12th. It's usually the first every quarter, and they moved it up a week.
5:30.
Back a week, I guess. Every household is eligible for 4 more free COVID tests at covid.gov/tests. There was a Board of Health meeting today at 4. There was this online survey, which I did. Hamilton County Local Emergency Planning Committee meeting is Wednesday, the 11th at 9 a.m. at the Hamilton County Education Service Center.
So that was Hamilton County Local Emergency.
Planning Committee meeting. That's Wednesday, the 11th at 9 a.m.
October 11th at the Educational Service Center.
Yes. And then Great Parks Advisory Committee meeting is October 12th at 3:30 to 5:30 at Coleraine Township Senior and Community Center on Springdale Avenue. You can also watch it virtually, so
That was at Advisory Committee meeting, Great Parks Advisory Committee meeting. What was
October 12th from
Okay.
3:30 to 5:30.
Where?
Coleraine Township Senior and Community Center on Springdale. But you can watch it virtually also. I imagine we're going to hear about a lot of that tonight because it's on that Blue Way and Trail system. Then the Fernald annual committee meeting is October 18th, Wednesday. It's a busy week from 6:30 p.m. at Fernald Preserve.
Fernald annual
Committee meeting.
meeting. Thank you.
And then there is a Hamilton County hazardous products drop-off Friday, October 20th, 10 to 3:30. Saturday, the 21st, 8 to 1:30. and that's in Carthage. I think you can go online. They want people to register, and it shows what you can and can't bring. Because I think you can't bring paint and stuff, but you can bring things like old antifreeze and stuff. So it has to be, I think, more of a hazardous material, which paint really isn't. Oh, and then Friday, well, we may talk about this more. There's that Hamilton County Sheriff is at Harrison Township Center at 8:30 in the morning. I guess we are in Harrison and Whitewater Township are invited to that.
When is that?
10:13. That's this Friday. That's all I have. Dennis?
All right, you had the sheriff's meeting, so we don't need to go into that. And I got a letter from a firefighter who was a little bit upset about the operation of the firehouse. So at the end of the meeting, I'd like to go into executive session to discuss that with the fire chief. I got an email to certify the information on the Ohio pooled collateral system. I guess I'm the contact on that. And so I needed the checking account figure for the first of the month. Otherwise, I couldn't, I went online and I couldn't fill it out until I got that figure. So I'll take and get that done. And then I turned in a claim for our wall to Otmara, and they denied because it wasn't related to storm damage. It was an ongoing issue with the gutters, and so kind of figured that was coming that pike after the adjuster was here. And that is all I have.
Thanks, Dennis. Chuck?
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff y'all already went over. The Great Park of Hamilton County having I guess, let's see, they gotta have a slide tonight, but it's, they take a bus around to the different parks in Hamilton County, and it started at 8 in the morning to 2:45 in the afternoon, and basically it started at Winton Center on Winton Road, and as you want to go, you need to email them by October the 13th. I went last year to let you know what's going on, like in Miami Whitewater. They're supposed to be building a water park, upgrade the playground, and so on and so forth. So I intend to go again this year to see how they update, how they're getting along with that. I guess you know they closed part of New Haven Road tonight, today. I guess for the next 21 days.
Before 5:30.
Yeah, so we got an email on that. So and that's it. Everything else is covered by Doug and Dennis. So.
All right, thanks, Chuck. Sheriff, Lieutenant Stuckey.
Hello. All right, so for the month of September, we had 110 calls for service. We had 4 criminal reports, 4 non-criminal reports. We had 1 case assigned to our detectives that wasn't closed yet. And then we had 1 car crash and 0 DUI arrest. And that is all I have for you guys today. Anything else? Any questions?
Sounds like a busy month. You didn't have much for us,
Yeah.
but
It seemed to be.
yeah, I don't have any issues.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we have Tim Zellick from Great Parks of Hamilton County coming with a presentation. just say who you are in the microphone and then.
Excuse me, Tim, would you like the lights dim for your presentation? I can do that for you. Except for maybe Chuck's going to do that. I'm not sure. I'll wait and see. There we go.
Thank you. I'm Tim Zellick with Great Parks of Hamilton County. I'm going to present our West Region Blueway and Trail System.
Can you say the title of that again? What was the title again?
Oh, I'm sorry. West Region Blueway and Trail System.
West Region Blue Way?
Yes.
Blue Way.
Here, let me go back.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. So the project scope is to expand and strengthen Western Hamilton County's Blueway, which includes the Great Miami River and the Whitewater River. The goal is to identify 4 to 5 new access points along those rivers, along with a trail, and develop some concepts for those locations. We're in the process of preparing, or actually discussing, and in doing some research and doing some community engagement in order to prepare plans for the trail, and that would follow the Great Miami River corridor. So back in 2019, Great Parks did a comprehensive master plan. We had over 2,200 residents throughout the county that responded. And these 8 priorities came out of that. The top 2 are the 2 that relate most closely with this project, that build more trails and establish a defined blueway system. So the first thing to do is to try and figure out, tap into local knowledge, expertise to help. So we started a community engagement activity to identify project opportunities and challenges, guide the project development, and eventually guide the implementation. Also to build support and excitement about the project among constituencies. As Mr. Lohman mentioned, we have a Crosby, or a advisory committee meeting coming up. We would love to have somebody from Crosby Township on the advisory committee so that you can help direct how this project goes and hopefully develop some things that would benefit Crosby Township to the best of our ability. So the study area includes all the communities and townships that are adjacent to the Great Miami River and the Whitewater River. So you can see the list and see where that is along the rivers there. One of the other items that we're hoping to determine is, so you'll see that New Baltimore is fairly close to the river and along the trail. We are hoping to determine the best way to communicate with them. If you have any thoughts on that, I would love to hear those so that we can contact people there just to help us with
New
the project.
Baltimore is, I don't know what you mean by that, but New Baltimore, it's an unincorporated, basically, neighborhood. So, like, they don't have a council or anything like that.
Okay.
I just want to make sure you knew
Was
that.
not aware of that. So
It may used to have been like generations ago, but it's just a
Okay.
it's just a neighborhood within Crosby Township.
Okay. It looked like there might be some opportunities to connect there. You'll see as we move through this in the future, we're looking at different sides of the river where to put the trail. So if that looked like a good place to do a connection across the river. But we could look more thoroughly at that with the township. So the Blue Way enhancement includes looking at a lot of locations. So this map on the right shows existing public facilities. Those are the orange dots. Existing private facilities. Those are the orange circles. And then we're looking at additional locations, the blue dots, where Great Parks is, with our consultants, are analyzing a bunch of locations to figure out the best places to put new access. So the gray is areas that we looked at. We looked at over 22 different locations for access points. The gray ones have been eliminated, and the blue ones are still being considered. So there's about 8 of them, actually, that we are still looking at. Some we own, some we don't own. So that will be something in the future as our consultants look more closely at the feasibility of doing an access at some of these locations, where we decide to put them. It looks like the ideal spacing for access points is between 3 and 5 miles, because that equates to about a half-day trip on the river. We'll be looking at several different types of access, from natural access locations where it's already pretty much available to just get down to the river easily. Some will be enhanced somewhat, so that maybe we have slopes to get down, or some kind of a access problem to solve to get to the river. And then at least one of these will be fully ADA accessible. As I mentioned, along this Blue Way, we'll also have a shared use trail for hiking, biking, and this will be an extension of the Great Miami Riverway, if you're familiar with that. The Great Miami Riverway runs through several counties. From the north end starts in Sydney, which is in Shelby County, and the south end currently stops in Fairfield. The intent is they intend to continue the trail down to the Hamilton County border, and then our goal is to continue it through Hamilton County all the way to Ohio River. This has been a huge economic development piece for all those communities that it runs through. Those different colored dots represent attractions, historic sites, shopping, parks, trails, trail access, river access, bike and paddle rentals, arts and entertainment facilities, food and drink, and hotels. So you can see along that trail there's a lot of things that can drive economic development, and they do an amazing job of promoting all those through all those communities. So it's been a big boon north of us, so we want to bring that down.
Is that trail on the eastern side or the western side of the river?
It primarily is on the eastern side, I believe, coming down through these communities. It may cross back and forth here occasionally, and it's not a complete trail yet, but it's pretty close. There are still some gaps in it. So through Hamilton County, the intent is to travel along the Great Miami River corridor. We are looking at which side of the river the trail would be on and which side of the river access points will be on, so that'll all be kind of determined through our advisory committee and our consultants working together with Great Parks. We're hoping that in the future, once we have final locations and determine where the trail goes, that we'll have community partnerships to help build it. But the goal is to not only connect access points along the river and parks, but to connect other services like schools and, other shopping and those other activities along the river. So this is a list of assets that was developed communicating with a number of folks. It's all the lists that we could come up with the people that we've been in contact with. So here's a situation where we haven't talked to anyone yet with Crosby Township, so there may be some things missing within Crosby Township that you could help us determine if we're missing anything. And these are the types of things that will help us determine where the access points go and where the trail goes as we develop. So the list includes, as you can see, sporting venues, parks, other facilities like schools and restaurants and stables and all kinds of community areas and sites, as well as other trails. And while the main trail is looked at as following the river pretty closely, it may cross back and forth on different sides of the river. We expect that there'll be side shoots to the trail to hit some other community areas that people want to tie into from the main trail. So it's considered a braided network, and that just means there's all types of trails within the network. The main one being the shared use trail represented here right along the river. We also have something called a side path, which would be still separated from the road, but much closer to roadways where there's difficulty getting to the river. But there may be room alongside a roadway, maybe even within the right-of-way, but still being separate from the road. Obviously, the water trail, which would be the Blue Way Trail. The cycle track is considered another separate access point. And I forget right now what exactly that is, sorry. Boardwalks and through marshy areas possibly, or bridges across the river, or through some areas where there may be too steep a slope to actually go up and down valleys. There may be some bridges, as well as possible hiking bridle trails. So all those kind of work within this whole network. So next steps. We've been working on this since the beginning of the year. We've had a public engagement open house. It was back in July, I believe. We had a pretty good turnout there. That helped us to get some comments back and helped us, start our process of gathering information for the trail. The first advisory committee meeting also happened. The second one is coming up on October 12th, as was mentioned. Again, we'd love to have somebody from Crosby Township that served on the advisory committee. Our goal is to start building some access in early 2025. So as we get through this process, we hope to have final Blue Way master plans and shared use trail master plans about the summer of next year, and then start working on construction drawings and funding for some of the other access and trail pieces. So public engagement has been very important. You can go to our website, greatparks.org/West Region Trails to find out more information about what we've done. There was an online survey that you could do. It's closed now, but the information is on the website. And there's just also a lot of information about the trail and both the Blue Way Trail and the shared use trail. We're going to be scheduling focus group meetings with important stakeholders and also attending different events throughout the communities to help promote this. So is there any question on that?
Yeah, how much land do you have to purchase for this?
So we have some land after years of acquiring some properties. We have, just based on what we've done with the Little Miami Scenic Trail, we've purchased some land. The trail goes through existing parks. So even if the park isn't ours, you usually can get an agreement with other communities to run a trail through their parkland. We've had farmers along the Little Miami Scenic Trail grant us easements or sell us just narrow strips, especially along a roadway, so it doesn't disrupt their farm much, in order to build trails. The amount of land we need it's not known yet because we haven't laid out a final trail location. I think it's about between 25 and 30 miles from the north of Hamilton County to the south following the river. So you can imagine it's a lot of trail.
So will that, would branch off and go on also the Whitewater River, or is it mainly the Miami?
The shared use trail would just be along the Great Miami Trail. We're not gonna, there are some groups that wanna connect some areas in Indiana to the trail, so I think that would happen. But that's not in our current plan to do that. We would certainly be open to that. I know the Tri-State Trails Group has plans to, from lots of organizations, to incorporate other things along the trails.
'Cause I know you've bought a lot of land like on Kilby Road and that, and I didn't know if that was with an intent of something like that.
We've bought land on, along where the railroad tracks run through with the intent, we were hoping that the railroad would abandon those tracks at some time and we could put a trail on it. Since then, the railroad is more active than ever, so we have not been pursuing much more land along there. The land there protects the river, which is great, but it's probably not going to be the ideal place for a trail right now, so we're concentrating more now along the Great Miami. We look at gravel mines once they're finished. That often gives us a pretty large amount of land with space for a trail. We'll talk to residents eventually. We always kind of keep our eyes open for possibilities where we might be able to incorporate some land that's for sale into a trail, but we don't have any idea yet, except for a couple of access locations where we're starting to talk to some folks just to give them a heads up that we'd like to look at your property and are you okay with that? So we're starting to talk to some people about river access locations.
That's on the Whitewater, you said, or on, you're still talking about the Miami?
Those are mostly on the Great Miami right now. We have a couple of locations that we looked at on the Whitewater River. There are a couple of public facilities there. Are they in Crosby Township?
No,
The two?
Whitewater probably.
So there are a couple locations that we might be able to partner with the local community and expand those, or possibly use some land that we already have, or purchase some property for another access point.
So for now, you're just, that just kind of have that land then for like an investment, like on Kilby and that?
If we buy land now, sometimes we're allowing farmers to rent it to continue to grow crops until we're ready to develop it, or put it into restoration. Lots of times we just buy it and preserve it. We use Clean Ohio funds quite a bit, which requires it to be conservation. So if we're looking at, say, protecting river banks and we're purchasing land for that, we typically wouldn't develop it. But right now we're not trying to think of, we have a couple small pieces of land that we're pursuing now on this side of town. Nothing major at this point. We're just kind of keeping our ears open right now as far as land. But this would direct us. So I've been with the Park District for 28 years. When I came, we were already looking at how to get the Little Miami Scenic Trail from Milford down to the Ohio River. And it's taken this long to finally get to close. We're like at Lunkin Airport. We still have to get a little bit further. So it's going to be a long process to make this project happen. But it's something we're looking for long term. But the access points, we're hoping we can get those put in fairly quickly.
That's just for people like for kayaking and stuff, basically?
Kayaking, canoeing, yeah. It wouldn't be for launching large boats. Yeah.
Do you plan on doing anything with the Shaker Village?
I'm sorry?
The Shaker Village, do you have any plans for that?
I do, and that'll be the next thing I want to talk to you about. So I just wanted to give you also a little update on a couple other projects, if I may. So we have plans going on now to improve the Shaker Nursery. And this project is, I'm hoping that we can get some construction done next year or 2025, depending on funding. This project would expand production at the nursery. We would include a new greenhouse. Right now we have a plastic hut, hoop hut kind of a thing. So we want to build an actual greenhouse, a shade structure, a better drying facility so we can dry seeds without having to put buckets all around the barn to catch all the drips from the leaky roof. We've produced a fair amount of seed there that we use for our own purposes. We don't typically sell any seed. We give some away. We give some in small packets to groups. We also give some to other park districts or other agencies that want to do restoration with native seeds. So we grow about 125, I believe, different native plants there. And so this would provide more production area, but also the goal is to bring the public more into it. So we would connect it to the Shaker Trace Trail and have access to it from the trail so you could ride over to the facility. We'd also take the existing barn and turn it into some kind of a rental facility. And the goal is to have this pretty much self-sustaining utility-wise. So we'd be doing some solar things. We'd probably be doing some water conservation practices here and some things like that. Primarily solar activities, though, to help just run the facility. One of the things now, we have volunteers there all year doing things with seeds, and all they have is a portalette. So the big thing here is we're going to add some restrooms. There'll be some offices there for some staff and a maintenance facility. So that upper left picture shows a plan of it. And then some of the other images are just some of the concepts for what the building's arrangements would be. So it would be a much more public space and do some education about native plants.
So you said they would rent the barn out like for venues or something?
Yes. And then if you're familiar with the inner loop at Miami Whitewater Forest, we've had some major flooding there the past year that took out the trail that runs underneath Mount Hope Road. So that's the red dashed line that runs right along the river. This section of the trail right here completely washed out this past spring. So we decided to finally just move the trail out away from the river because it was a constant problem with just keeping it clean, maintaining it. So the first thing we did was built this northern trail, built a gravel trail to use as soon as we could get that open, and then we closed because we had to close the other trail because it was basically washed out. So that gravel trail still remains, but it was being used by the public while we built this second trail, which will be the asphalt trail. The trail's virtually done now. We are putting a crosswalk in here with signals to be a safer crossing. This was always a tough place to cross because people coming around this corner didn't realize there was anybody there until the last minute. So we're taking this parking lot out that exists for horse trail users. We're putting a new parking lot in here to serve them better. And then again, this crosswalk will be much safer and the trail will be, much more sustainable out here away from the river. There's still going to be some trail along the river in parts, but this piece was especially erodible, so this will be a big improvement. This has already, had a staff work day, field day out here, and we replanted plants along the river where the old trail was to help maintain that slope in that area a little bit better. And I said the trail washed out. There was asphalt on top of concrete here, so the asphalt is what came out. I believe I don't know how far the concrete goes, but there was concrete under the bridge, so that still remains. So we'll have new horse trail, new shared use trail in that area soon. It's virtually complete, not quite open yet. The gravel trail is open. That's what will become the horse trail. And you asked about
Shaker Village.
Shaker Village. So the North family is, there are a couple buildings being preserved as fast as they can, which is not a fast process because they don't have much funding, by the Friends of Shaker Village. They're doing a pretty good job preserving those. The South family is UC's
Field studies.
station, I forget what it's called.
Field studies.
Yes, so they have, UC manages that, and they wanted to convert one of the buildings into dorm rooms for some of their students who are using the center for field studies. I don't believe that's happened yet. They were trying to find funding to do that. The center family is the one that has the worst structural issues, and we are looking at funding just to try and stabilize those buildings. We don't have anyone right now interested in using them. So again, we just want to, we stabilized them years ago, and it's obviously needs to have more work done. So we're just looking at some funds right now to kind of do that again with some of those buildings before they collapse. At one time, we talked about some ideas for how we might incorporate them into some kind of park facility, but that has not really gone anywhere at this point. So we don't have a use in mind for those at the time. Hopefully we can come up with something to help preserve those.
Yeah, they're kind of an important part of history for the area.
It is, yeah. I was just at Friends of the Shaker Village meeting. They had a meeting last week, and they talked a little bit about the history and some of the things the Shakers developed. Shakers apparently developed the seed pack.
Yep.
So the idea came out that maybe we supply them some seeds from Shaker Trace Nursery and help them get some funding through sale of seed packs. It would be a kind of a ironic twist on, that they developed seed packs and apparently made quite a bit of money. The equivalent of $200,000 today they made selling seed back then. That's all I have to share, but if you have any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Well, thanks for the presentation.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Maybe come back in a year or something, give us an update.
Yeah, be happy to.
All right, public at large. Anybody that wants to talk can go up to the microphone.
Hello, my name is Nick McVeigh. I own a building and some lots down on 7126 New Haven Road.
First of all, can you spell your last name?
It's McVey, Mary Charles Victor Edward Yankee.
Okay. And the address again?
7126 New Haven. So if you go down past Blue Rock on your left-hand side, keep going a little bit, we own the lots on the curb there. And so the reason that I'm here is because we've been having, we built the building about a year ago. And when we built it about a year ago, there was not really, well, I guess they had a permit for it, but there really wasn't an active mine across the street at the Burwinkle farm. Welch owns property across from the Burwinkle farm on the river. And so in order to mine the gravel, he has an agreement with Burwinkle to where he drives through Burwinkle's land to get the gravel and then brings it up onto New Haven Road. Go ahead.
Just a clarification from what I know. Whitey Burwinkle got a permit from the Corps of Engineers to drag the gravel out on his side to keep the water so he could theoretically irrigate. So he got, I don't know how long of a permit he got, but he got a permit to keep that gravel dredged out of there so he could irrigate. So, and then Jim Welsh just happened to come in and take the gravel off of Whitey's hands.
Gotcha.
So it's Burwinkle that got the permit, and then Welsh is getting the gravel.
Yeah, I understand that as well. Yeah, Burwinkle,
Okay.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
And the other thing I would add, it just from my personal knowledge, is that it's sometimes active and sometimes not, because it's a small
right.
area, and it was probably filling up with sediment and gravel when you were moving into the area or building, and then it came time to dig it out again.
Yes. Yep. You're absolutely right. When we first moved in and they started pulling gravel, we built the building in 2020, and then they started pulling gravel probably a couple months later. And then it was here and there. It was like, I don't know, one truck every hour, every 2 hours. Well, so in the past month and a half, now it's one truck every 5 to 10 minutes. And so at first, the noise was really bothering our people working in the office there, but it's an industrial area and we get it. People have to make money, and we're not against anybody making money, right? But then it really started to affect our business because of the amount of dust that's coming off. They drive down a gravel driveway there, and when they drive down that gravel driveway, there's dust coming off the truck and then dust coming off of the driveway. And so since the trucks are so heavy, they have to replenish that driveway constantly. So they're adding more and more gravel so that their trucks don't get stuck. And so these giant dust clouds are coming off of it. And so we didn't ever talk to Jim Welch or anybody of any significance. We contacted their office and we spoke with them, 2 or 3 times, and said, hey, is there anything you guys can do to control the dust? And so they said, yeah, we'll start spraying down the gravel so that there will be less dust. Because I have about 20 to 30 work trucks that park there regularly, and we're on our guys to keep the trucks looking clean, right? Because we want to keep up our image and do good business. And so that dust comes over and just cakes our brand new building and all of our trucks. So we reached out to him and we asked him. They sent a guy out. We met with the guy. He said he'll do what he can to take care of it, but he really didn't think that they were going to be able to do anything about it. And so next thing, they started pulling through our front yard. And so maybe about once a week now when the trucks are turning, because when they come out of Burwinkle's farm there, they make a right and they head towards New Baltimore.
Oh, they do.
And so they need to make a big wide turn. So about once a week now, they run through our front yard. Now, they fix it right away. I mean, they send somebody over to, put down grass seed, but our yard still looks pretty bad, and we just spent, about $40,000 on landscaping when we built it, so we want to keep it looking nice. And so we have plans to build about 4 more buildings right there. We own our lot, and then we own the lot next to it. Those plans aren't approved yet by the township or anything like that, just our internal plans. And we like where we're at, and, we want to continue to do business here, but it's just something that's really affecting us and causing a hardship for us. And so I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention and kind of see where to go from here. And I've got some pictures and stuff too.
Have you spoken to Rick Espel?
Yeah, that's what brought me here tonight. I spoke with him the other day, and he told me, first try to talk to him, just ask him, hey, can you guys do anything? And so I did. I've called him 4 times now. The first 3 times I talked to somebody, the 4th time they didn't call me back. And so then that's what prompted me to call Rick. Called Rick. He said call the Southwest Ohio Air Quality Association that is contracted out by Hamilton County and they said that they believe that they've had another complaint, and they believe that it is an air quality issue down there because the residents, I guess, of New Baltimore are complaining as well. And so made a complaint with them, but then Rick and them both said to come here tonight. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, well,
Well, I don't know what the township can do. You might have, it might be a private matter between you and them. Do you have an attorney that's written to them?
Not yet. That was going to be our next step.
Yeah. I'm not, if Rick doesn't think it's violating any of the zoning, your next step may be to pursue it with private counsel.
Okay.
So they never, you said they just put water on the thing to keep the dust down, or?
Well, they put water down at first, and then that was just throwing mud all over the road. And so the funny thing too is that when they first started, where Denier's new building is, they would come, because they're coming from the Ross plant with the trucks, and they would go past Denier. Well, I suspect there had to be Denier had talked with Welch or something, because they no longer drive in front of Denier. They only go towards New Baltimore, which to me is, just different that they do that now, because they take the long way around. So
well, there's one reason is they don't have to pull the hill up 128.
Yeah.
And the second reason is they just got done repaving River Road over there, so now it's nice and smooth. So, it might be further, but it's a smooth road, but I might take and call over there too. I know Jim personally, Jim Welsh, and I think he's still in the driver's seat over there. So let Rick do his thing, you do your thing, and I'll add another torque to it.
Okay, I really appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, we don't want to cause any problems. We just don't want to have to watch these trucks every day.
And I don't know how long that permit lasts. They got it so they could irrigate, but they're not irrigating out of it. They're just selling gravel.
Yeah, and they've got enough. I mean, I don't know if you've driven by lately. I know you live near. You stopped at our shop one time, I think. Yeah. I didn't know if you were the same guy or not, but the mountain now. I mean, it's 40 foot tall.
Oh, I saw it down there.
Yeah.
They got a pile of gravel down there now.
Is it the dust is from the driveway, not from the mining?
I think the dust is from the driveway, because on a day where there's a little bit of mist in the air, it's not as bad. But
It would be. It's just a driveway. The gravel, there's no dust coming off the trucks. It's the wheels stirring
I meant
up
where
the.
they're mining it.
they also said one of the gentlemen, like one of the foremen from Welch that stopped out, he said that they might consider paving the road or laying down some crushed asphalt to try to prevent it, but they haven't done
Hasn't
anything
happened
like
yet.
that. Yeah.
They can there's tree sap they can put on it, because I know on the golf course and because where my business is, there's a lot of gravel there, and that's something legal. Years ago they oiled gravel, but they actually sell like a liquid tree sap that you put on gravel, and it lasts like almost a whole season.
Well,
Liquid
for
tree
golf
sap.
carts it would.
Well, no, they do it on the driveways over
they?
there too.
Okay.
And the more you put down, the better it works.
Just keeps coating.
Yeah, and so our plan basically is to build more buildings,
Cheap,
but
too, I
my business is a service industry business, so it's a little bit more understanding. But when I start renting units out,
Sure.
I don't want to lose tenants
Sure.
over the fact that all this dust is coming through.
And then I may get a hold of Burwinkle. I know the son, and I might ask him what the length of that permit is, because I'm almost certain it's not indefinite,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I'd really appreciate any help.
Okay,
So that's all I've got. I've got pictures too. Do you guys want them, or does it matter? Or?
I know where you're at and I know what it is.
Okay. All right.
I just can't believe they're turning and going up towards New Baltimore. That's a tough inside turn there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it
no
is.
wonder they're going over in your property. I couldn't make that turn with my trucks.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did you complain and then they fixed it where they drove in, or did they just do it because they knew they did it?
They just do it because they knew they did it. So I had I had two of my managers in my office. I said, hey, each time a truck pulls out of there, take a picture. Well, then the driver started flipping them off. So it's just like,
Oh, well,
you know, but yeah,
okay.
So.
Good luck.
that's it. That's all I
Yeah,
have.
thanks. Anybody else?
My name is Eric Robinette, and I'm the Assistant Chief for the Crosby Township Fire Department. I've been employed by the Township for 21 years. Over the last 21 years, our department has had ups and downs, good times and bad times. For over the last year now, I have felt like a punching bag, being hit with complaint after complaint, issue after issue with the fire department and Chief Davis. I haven't experienced the amount of complaints and issues since I've started here in 2002. I've told people that I wouldn't get involved due to my rank because the complaints would be dismissed because they're coming from me. If they want to change, they need to take action and make that change. But for various reasons, that changes have not been able to happen. Recently, you received an anonymous letter that contained several issues within the fire department that have been around for a while and haven't been resolved or have been dismissed. The letter was sent anonymously to protect the author or authors from retaliation or experience a hostile work environment. I've been told there is a focused effort on trying to find out who wrote the letter. The author or authors should not be the matter, but the issues within the department should be the focus. I read the letter at the firehouse on Saturday, and I've had some time to reflect on the letter and what I've been told for over the last year or so. I will say that I take responsibility for the letter, so the effort to find out who wrote the letter can stop, and the work to make the changes needs to be start. The information that was in that letter has been told to me for over the last year for pretty much every member in the fire department, including one sitting here tonight. I kept that information confidential to myself and got to the point where people have tried to make change and those changes haven't done, and then the letter was sent. That's all I have.
Well, when we go into executive session, we're going to try and to address a few things and see what we can do, but
Dennis, let me hold you. We're going to go into executive session with me, okay?
okay,
First, before we do anything else.
okay.
Anybody else? Yep.
My name is Kate Denier. I am the manager of the Harrison Branch Library. I just wanted to give you all an update on how the library is doing and how the Harrison Branch specifically is doing because I haven't visited in a few months. So right now, the library is working on our facilities master plan. We have over 41 locations, and we're doing improvements to each of the locations in a 10-year span. Because the community told us how much they value having access to our public libraries. 14 projects have been completed so far, and the library has invested about $90 million into the community. In 2019, we did a lot of listening sessions in the community to find out what people wanted at each of our locations. And one of the biggest needs that the community needed was spaces to meet and private places to study. So the library's added 42 spaces to our system. At the Harrison Branch Library, we have a meeting room that is free to be reserved and used. It can be reserved online. So we're already, doing that in Harrison, which is great. We serve everyone in the county. It starts at babies and it goes to senior citizens. Last year, the library system hosted over 5,000 story times and delivered over 155,000 materials to senior facilities. At the Harrison branch specifically, this year, we've circulated over 140,000 items, and we've had over 70,000 visitors. We have put on 224 programs with just shy of 10,000 attendees in just the Harrison community. We hosted a customer appreciation event just this past Saturday, and we had almost 400 people show up, which was really exciting for us. Just a couple things coming up at our branch. There's a partial eclipse on October 14th. That's this coming Saturday. It should take place between like 11:42 and 2:32 in the afternoon. We have a telescope, and we will be, anyone can come and check out that eclipse. Our telescope is able to be checked out. That's a thing that a lot of people in the community aren't aware of. So it will go back into circulation for people to check out after the event. We have a monthly Tai Chi program for seniors. We started this recently, and it's been very popular. Our next one is in October. It's once a month on Wednesday mornings. We're also having a homeschool resource night upcoming. It's going to be on November 8th. We've had a lot of people in the Harrison community say that they want to start homeschooling their kids, but they're not sure where to start. So we're going to try to help people out by talking about those resources. I also wanted to mention that we are also giving out free COVID tests. They can be picked up through our drive-through, or you can come in and get them. And each family can have 4 COVID tests per day. I also just wanted to say, if there's ever anything that we can do, any events going on in Crosby Township that we can help with or support or attend, we would be happy to do that. Thank you.
How large of an area would you say the Harrison branch serves?
I don't know exactly. It's pretty large, but I can say that our closest branch to Harrison is just shy of 8 miles away. And for this library system, that's a really far distance. So we're serving a very large service area, and we also serve a lot of residents in Indiana.
That's what I was wondering.
They pay to have a library card in our system. And in particular, we experience a lot of people who don't have internet. They're not able to get it. I live in Indiana. I don't have internet. I'm not able to get it. So we have a lot of people coming in to use our Wi-Fi. We've had just this year, we've had over we've had over 21,000 Wi-Fi sessions, and that's just people logging in to use our Wi-Fi. And that's gone up over the last year.
Wow.
So it is a very large service area, and we're trying to, we do a lot of outreach. So we try to go to as many places in the community as we can, because we know because it's such a large area that not everybody is able to come to us necessarily.
Good.
Can you repeat your name, please?
Yep, Kate Denier. It's Denier.
And what's your position?
I'm the senior branch manager.
Is that at Harrison specifically, or is that
Yes.
over? Okay.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you come pretty frequently to give us updates. Anybody else? Okay, reports, legal, Alan?
Yes, I think everyone has a copy of this resolution. It is a resolution of the Board of Trustees to terminate the lease with the New Baltimore Volunteer Fire Department on 6985 River Road. In accordance with the lease, there is a provision of the lease that allows the termination. You have to give them 30 days, but since we're into October, I suggested, usually leases are month to month, I suggested that we advise them of the termination as of the end of November, November 30th, 2023. So this resolution is to authorize the termination of the lease, the issuance of a certified letter by me to them advising of the lease, and then authorizing you, Doug, to sign the recordable lease termination with the recorder's office.
All the equipment and everything that the township has been taken out, so that building is vacated.
So I guess we need a motion to adopt the resolution?
We need a resolution number.
Yeah.
The resolution number, I had two others that I prepared as well for tonight, so the resolution number I planned for this was 16-2023.
All right.
And I've got that marked here. If adopted, you guys can just sign this one that I have.
Yeah.
So we need a motion.
Yes.
Who's gonna do it?
I move that we adopt the resolution number 16-2023, terminating the lease with the New Baltimore Volunteer Fire Department.
I second it.
Roll call.
Loman,
Yes.
Hayeb,
Yes.
Heiss.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just looking at this here. I'm gonna rate the date adopted as October 9th. And if there's no objection, I think I'll handwrite on here that it was moved by, I don't see a slot for that. Do you want me to put that on there? Who the move-in and who the second was?
I don't think it's necessary, but
Okay, yeah, I guess it's in the minutes.
yeah.
Some have, some stuff we get from the county or whatever, some have it, some don't, so I won't do that then. All right, here you go.
Do you have the last month's minutes for us to sign too?
Well, I'm gonna fix that clerical error. I'll have you guys sign that before it's over, and I'll put final instead of draft on it.
Anything else, Alan?
No.
Okay, maintenance, Mike?
We can vote on it, did we?
What's that?
Did we vote on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we did. We did a roll call.
Yes, we did a roll call.
I thought he meant.
I did a roll call.
did
You
roll
sounded
call.
off on it, Chuck, I think.
Okay. Well, I know I second
You're
it.
good to go.
I know I second it. I don't remember.
No, we
the roll
we
call.
did the roll call
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
Okay,
Mike?
yeah, I got a couple things. So as of October 17th, one of my guys is retiring. I gave everybody the paperwork there, you can see in front of you. So we need to talk about hiring another, because I don't want to get caught with our tails between our legs when the snow hits. I need to have somebody else here. So would it be possible to put an ad out to get another person in?
Yeah, if you want to come, because you'll be the one to interview and
Yep.
hire, and then we would approve whoever you pick.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to, probably, you would come up with an ad, or if you want to start out maybe putting something on our website, and then,
I'd put something on the website, and maybe if there's room on the board out there on the road. If not, we're gonna run an ad. You probably have to run an ad in the paper anyway.
Right, I think if he goes ahead and writes what he wants, to be seen or known, then I can help, with getting it on the website, stuff like that.
Okay. Work
Just
with
so it's written.
Brenda.
Please? Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't hear what you said.
Okay.
Got it.
So the second thing is, I printed off the to-do list, the things that we've done and the things that we need to do. I don't really have to discuss them, I just wanted you to see what's going on. And then, next paper I got is, items that need license plates. We've got 3 things that we drive around with that don't have any license plates on the back of them. So I don't know how you guys can go about getting me some plates for that. One of them is the F-450. which is one of our plow trucks. I don't think it's ever had a plate on it, from what I've been told, since you guys have had it. We've got a trailer that we haul the crack filler stuff on. It doesn't have a plate. And then we've also got the wood chipper that doesn't have a plate.
Does the wood chipper need a plate?
I would say yes, because of the length and the width it is. I had a 10-foot trailer from Harbor Freight, and I know this thing's about 12 foot long.
I know trailers need it, but I don't know if a wood chipper needs a.
It's got a place
I
for a
don't
plate.
know. I don't know the answer on that one.
It's got a place for a plate, but
You
I
could
don't
call
know.
the license bureau, I guess, and ask them.
Yeah, but those are the three things that, I mean, at least two of them need it.
Yeah.
And then my next paper I got here is items to auction for this year. We got the 2 zero-turn mowers that we can get rid of. Of course, the Crown Vic, 3 floor buffers, and 96 Chevy 3500 dump truck, 2-wheel drive, that we can get rid of. So we don't need. I just want to make sure you guys are okay with that.
They probably take and you're gonna have to advertise all that stuff on the
On the
same
auction
site
site.
as the fire truck
Right.
was advertised on, because we have to.
Yeah, on
Right.
that
Yeah,
auction
And
site.
then as far as putting a minimum bid, you're gonna have to take on the floor buffers, $500 a piece. I have no idea.
Yeah, they're like, if you were to buy them used, it's almost $3 grand. If you were to buy them used right now, I
Are
looked
they?
them up. Yeah,
Okay. Well, if you looked everything up, you got a good handle on it.
Yep.
I would say take and work with Jason on who to contact down at the county.
I'll give him the contact with the county.
Okay.
so I have your approval on the 4 things there. Went 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to him since we got the new dump truck, and Harry never took the salt spreader off the other one dump truck, so he never used it in the summer. They just left it set there, so
Yeah, we're gonna use
there's
them
hardly
regularly.
any miles on it.
Right. All the trucks. I wish I had the list.
So
with me.
we got, with the new dump truck, and we got more stuff, more dump trucks than we need.
Yeah, that's.
So I think we taking, get rid of the stuff he has listed here. I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, cool.
Have they gotten in your new plow and that yet, or?
Not yet. I've called them once and emailed them once, and I get the same response. They'll call me when they get a phone call.
Tell them there's a chill in the air.
Yeah, that's what I told them. I told them they better have a truck ready for me if they don't have mine, my stuff ready, because we're gonna need it. So,
And then was there any word on those boxes, the gutter boxes that had to be rebuilt or whatever, that?
them guys told me that they inspected them and there was nothing wrong, so they just resealed them.
Oh, I thought they had to rebuild some of
That's
them.
what I heard too, but
Oh.
evidently, yeah,
Well, I mean, it's good if they're.
that
it
was bogus. So as long as they don't leak.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And last but not least, I have the estimate from Bear Paving. I did not get one from Julius Howell, but I got Bear. He came out and inspected here, gave the quote for the re-blacktopping that we discussed, and I think there's a picture on the back too. Yeah. Yours is not colored, but the lighter colored is what he wants to replace, and then seal and restripe the
Oh,
rest. So, and then of course you already had the Cincinnati one, so there's the 2 out of the
Yeah,
3.
two.
Yeah.
Is the other one gonna give you a quote yet, did they say? or-
I've called him twice, I've emailed twice, and I get no response. So, that's all I have.
Anything else for Mike?
You want to do anything with the asphalt?
We
Or do you-
talked about waiting until next year maybe and then appropriate it. And
That work better for you?
If we could get that other bid maybe by then.
I know that, well, and I know that last time, part of the issue was Cincinnati Asphalt was, I guess, suggesting and gave a quote based upon some grinding and repaving. But the Bear quote really didn't contemplate that, so it sounded like you guys wanted to get maybe like some congruent, you know, quotes and estimates, and I haven't looked at them closely. I don't know how close they are. I think that was part of the main issue with it. It is getting colder, but I know that the idea was, in theory, it could, I mean, I think it could be done, maybe not. Financially, you know, I mean, we're talking about,
I have both quotes with me if you need to know the price differences.
depending on where it is, you know,
We talked about if we're gonna go ahead and grind it now, we could just wait till next year and then, because I mean, one winter's not gonna really
No.
affect it.
I mean, it's financially, it's an issue where, I mean, if we have to do a supplemental appropriation, I mean, then so be it. But I mean, the locations we're talking about is here at the community center, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And really could probably this parking, is it the parking lot?
Yeah.
It's also the parking lot for a park. So I mean, we could reappropriate out of the gasoline tax too. I mean, it's just a matter of a supplemental
I'll
appropriation.
tell you what, since it's getting late in the year, let's just postpone this until next year. Then we can put it in, we're gonna have our appropriations meeting.
Yeah, we just need to keep
We
it in
got
mind.
an idea of what the cost is gonna be, so we can cover it. And,
Keep it in mind for the November
Yeah.
special meeting
Right.
and talk about site improvements.
yep. Cause we got elections coming up, and you don't wanna have things screwed up then, so why kill ourselves?
Well, yeah, that is another thing. I mean, you got, yeah, and just to clarify, this is a polling place.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good with it.
Okay, fire, Chief Davis.
September run totals, we had 39 EMS details, 43 fire details, for a total of 82 details in September. That second bullet point, we can bypass, that was just talking about the old fire engine being removed from the station in New Baltimore. Station 28's dishwasher had to be replaced last month. We tried numerous times to repair and fix the issue, but due to its age, we had to replace it. Station 28's bathroom and shower room had a drain issue. And we tried to correct the drainage issue. When that did not work, we called in Lloyd's Camp Plumbing. And they came out, looked at the pipes. Pipes were not cracked, were not broken, but they were able to jet the clog out of the pipes. So now the
That's
drainage
good.
issue's been fixed.
Didn't have to dig up anything.
It was digged up, no, correct. The mobile data computers, or the MDCs, we talked about at the last township meeting, have been delivered. They will be programmed, so we start training on the new system. Once the training is complete, then we will put them into the apparatus so they can be utilized. We continue to receive updates and progress reports on the new fire rescue engine. The new completion date has changed and is now in mid-November, if things go well. I can see it being changed until end of December, but progression's going on and the cab's been painted. We noticed a issue with the body part that we're waiting on some clarification to see if they've fixed it or if we need more photos so we can get a better idea of what we're looking at. I'll bypass that last bullet point. Mr. Hyab and I received an email from Ryan McEwing this afternoon. He's with the Hamilton County Government EMA. We had a meeting about maybe in February about the 2023 multi-hazard mitigation plan. In this email, he sent us a a sample of a resolution number so we could adopt this plan. And on the second page, he sent the adoption that we did back in 2019. I don't know if you want to talk about that now, later on today, or at the next meeting. We do have until the end of December to finalize that adoption.
I don't see that.
It's not, it's another standalone.
Yeah, it was not attached
Oh,
to the
okay.
actual report.
Okay.
Front page is an email, is the actual email.
Like I said, we just received it this afternoon. But we do have time to, if you wanted to, review it.
Well, if we got time, yeah, I'll take him. Let's postpone it until the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Last thing I have is at the last Board of Trustees meeting, we talked about updating our communication radios. After speaking with Mr. Carter about a possible usage of funds in the firefighter fund 2191-760-740 for a one-time use to replace those current radios, our current radios. That discussion was tabled to allow Mr. Wallace, Mr. Carter, to make sure the funds could be rerouted in that fund to purchase those radios. So I'm asking if that was the case, if funds were able to be rerouted to the actual, within that firefighter fund to purchase these radios. There are two, if you need more copies, I've got copies. There were two bids, there were two quotes. And the reason why that was, one quote is for 2 radios right away for the new engine, and the other quote was for everything else. So that's why the 2 quotes. And these quotes do expire at the end of October. I gave those to you last meeting, not this meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
So is that something you have to buy all at once? You can't just like phase in new radios like over a couple of years, or?
The radios are a little different than what we have now. So I would rather have all the portable radios at one time instead of phasing.
Everything would work together.
Correct.
You got a fund that we're taking that out of, Matt, or do we need to do something else?
Well,
In-
the, so,
The initial thought that,
if the, what would need to happen is if the, I mean, the number was, what was the number?
156,
Not the number of the fund, but what was the cost?
156, 371, 67 cents.
So the bulk of it is there actually in capital outlay in that firefighter EMT fund. That was already appropriated because of the fact that it was there, kind of piling up slowly over time, and we hadn't really used funds from there for a long time. And what we would have to do is it was 100 and how much?
56.
156, 371.
Yeah, and so we would. There's some other unused funds in operating supplies that we can we can transfer there, we would transfer capital outlay and, or just pay for it straight out of capital outlay, because that's a big major one-time expense. So if you're following along, and it looks like my copies didn't work as well as they typically do on some of these pages, but if you're following along, you've got $100,000 appropriated in 2191 767.90. That's the one right underneath the fund the chief mentioned. And that's for $100,000. There's nothing that has been encumbered out of that. There's no purchase orders or anything that we've spent out of that to date this year. There's also about 40. There's also about 45, right at about $45,000, $44,000 that is unencumbered in the operating supplies out of that same fund. We could transfer both of those pretty freely into the machinery, equipment, and furniture, or transfer from operating to the capital outlay. However, that gets us to 145 out of that same fund. What we would do then is, at that point, we're $5,000 to $10,000 away. When we do a purchase order for equipment or really anything, we can do multiple different fund purchase orders that kind of funnel together into the same check. As a matter of fact, so like the check that we would write, it lists on the check stub each individual a fund or account code. Account code is probably a more accurate term that it's coming out of, and obviously that it's going toward that purchase. So yeah, I mean, so we have it. The question is, whether you want to make the purchase or not.
Well, I'd say we probably have to make the purchase because we got a new engine coming.
Is that coming this year?
It will be this, yes.
You get updates on it?
He's just,
About every 2 weeks, once a week, twice a week, or every other week, yes. The last update we received was on the 6th, I believe. October 6th.
My recollection is that it's kind of along with the timeline they gave, wasn't it?
Fall of this year.
right, that was
Yeah.
fall.
Yeah.
I move that we go ahead and purchase the radios not to exceed $156,500.
Since you're here, Mr. Carter, are you aware of anything that I said that you would think is an error?
No. We'll just cobble it all together from various funds and fund codings.
It'll probably take 2 or 3, but it's there. So we got a motion from Mr. Hyab to purchase proposed new radios.
How many radios is that altogether? Just approximately, or?
I gave you the, approximately. Let's say probably 2, 4, 6, 7, maybe 9, 10 mobiles. Mobile radios that go into vehicles or at the station level. And then I would say 18 handhelds.
So this is so just so I understand, this is a replacement of really basically the fire department's whole radio system.
Yes.
Okay.
What the guys wear on their gear, and then what we have to communicate in our vehicles.
Is there, for planning purposes, is there any kind of other battery expenses or any kind of charger expenses, maintenance expenses we can expect from this?
Batteries and chargers are included in the quote.
And then from
Maintenance
there,
level-
it says they die, replace them? Or,
I've got spare batteries to rotate them out.
okay,
Mobilecom does come out and they program them once a year, once every other year.
okay,
We currently have a contract with them now for the radios.
okay.
Just that contract renews.
I guess my only request would be, if something comes to mind that's, like an ongoing, maintenance-related expense, really for this equipment or for any of the other equipment, especially the stuff that's been purchased over the last year or two, just try to keep that in mind for when we meet in November, as we're planning the final budget for next year. And
Okay.
You
So
want
we-
the warranty
what was that
is
number, not to exceed what, the cost?
156,500.
500.
156.5.
I second it.
Roll call.
Lohman,
Yes.
Hyam,
Yes.
Heiss.
Yes.
And that is all I have.
Then I saw your email
Thank
about
you.
the fire hydrants, that there's just one that's faulty right now.
On West Road by the entrance to the park.
And that's Cincinnati that maintains them? Or,
Hamilton County Waterworks, yeah.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Waterworks, yeah.
all right, community coordinator, Brenda?
Hi. I want to just first give you some updates, follow up on a few things. Last week I got a phone call from Deputy Lieutenant McElroy regarding an indigent burial situation in Crosby Township. There was an immediate request for us to provide some direction. And I found that we did have a file about this from 2013. This really hasn't been a problem since I've been here to actually have to deal with, but at any rate, I was given the contact info for the hospital personnel where the deceased was located, and I called Doug, and he then directed. I guess you actually made a few phone calls and connected with Jolene Winter, who actually said she would be able to take the information that we had, which was the phone number, and I don't know hardly any details at all about it, but she was willing to take on the project and take care of it. I'm going to drop off a copy of our file that I guess is our protocol as a township. We had decided upon it sometime in 2013, so she kind of just has that in her file, and she also said that she would let us know if there's anything more current that we need to know when I spoke with her. So that's an ongoing thing, but I think it must, I never heard from her again, so I think it's good.
We did have someone about a year or so ago that just kind of died.
It didn't follow, yeah, it
It
was like it was an inquiry that never really developed, yeah. Then I contacted Absolute Security Company. They're the ones that we have our security cameras with. There was an awful noise in the conference room under that security system where all the cameras were located, and it was just ear-piercing. After troubleshooting, I was sending pictures back and forth to the installer customer service rep, very nice gentleman, from the company that actually came out here and put them in, and he talked Jim and I through, we found out that it was a battery pack that was an emergency type situation for the unit, and it was just expiring. I think they said they last about 4 or 5 years. And so we were able to buy it at Home Depot and bypass any on-site calls, so that worked out well, and the noise stopped. The only down part of that, unrelated, is that one of the cameras, when we did set my office back up, is black and not working, so I'm going to be taking pictures of that, and we'll work through what that problem might be. I think it's the one out here out front near the roof, so I'm not sure if that was ever bumped or what.
Anyway, that's one thing that I'm working on. Another thing, Jim and I had talked about the nice new floor that everybody's excited about. It's beautiful, it's awesome, and we wanted to be sure that the right products were being used on it for cleaning and whatever we needed to know about that. So I called the Pat Craft Company sales rep, Craig Sacco, I believe is his name. He came out and I guess initially met to recommend this floor. At any rate, he sent me a copy of the maintenance guidelines online. I printed it off, and it has the best, safest product they recommend for cleaning it and taking good care of it. I made a copy for Mike in the maintenance department to keep at their building, and there's one here in our office. So just know that's kind of been looked into and taken care of. Then I wrote and submitted a grant for the 2023 Kringle Chest Children's Christmas benefit with Nutrien Cincinnati Phosphate Company, located on Patty's Run. And we are always so appreciative of their generous ways that reach out to all of our Crosby folks here and help us, and we appreciate that. We will probably start trying to catch up with some of our concert programs from the grant that I wrote yearly now, that we have entertainment for our seniors and for the community. And we lost a little time in the summer, so we have so many a year that we can use, so we'll be working on getting that on the calendar between now and December. I appreciated our Crosby paramedics who came out to our October meeting. We had a little mini health fair, and they took blood pressures and just gave a little demonstration related to the latest in CPR protocol and the AED. So that was fun, and it was neat. The seniors really appreciated it and invited them to come back more often and all that. So we'll just work that out. But it was good, and we thank you guys. They appreciated you. And now some highlights of what's going on. The community yoga has kicked back in again since the summer, and the cost is $10 for an hour class. And I think I had 4 or 5 calls just this week based on the sign out on our log cabin. So the community that's presently here is interested in getting started with that again with yoga. Jill Walterman-Sheehan is our yoga instructor. She's a local young lady. As a matter of fact, she was once a marching kit and baton twirler when she was in grade school for me. That was fun. Anyway, that's going on. Wanted to invite everybody to the Crosby Cafe Live Music. It's the 3rd Wednesday of the month. Our next one is October 18th at 7 o'clock p.m. And just an FYI, we've been getting between 60 and 80 people in here consistently. It's a very good band, and it's free admission. It's just fun. So if you have nothing's going on a Wednesday evening at 7, it's about 2 hours. You'll truly be blessed and enjoy it. Seniors are going to be going to Ainsley, I can't get that right, Ainsley's Cafe on Brookville Lake on Thursday night, October 26th for dinner with friends at 5 o'clock. We're going to head this next Monday to Brown County, Indiana, a little Nashville. We're going to go there at 9. We're going to leave here at 9 in the morning, arrive for lunch, and do some shopping and do some fun things. End up looking at some beautiful leaves before we leave the park, Brown County's park, so that'll be perfect. I think I'll skip on down a few more. Crosby's Trick or Treat is on October 31 from 6 to 8 p.m., so be safe and have fun, kids. And we look forward to you guys knocking on our doors. I believe that might be something that you might speak to, Dennis, but I had just marked down that the shelter construction has begun. And I don't know if you have something to report about that, but I'll just leave it at that. We're excited that it's on the way. I've been working with Mike Noyes to begin, as I have a minute, to update things on the website, and I worked with Mike, and he got all the things replaced there on the maintenance pages, for Harry, so that's completed. I am working on revising my filing system. I've come up with a whole new idea, so I figure it's never too late to have new ideas and give a new thing a shot. So I'm going to be working on that. If anybody among you has received anything on the staff and zoning department update for contact information, and I made a mistake or missed something or whatever, please let me know right away, and I'll be able to send that one out to people that need it. And I think that's basically it. We had a good month of working on getting things back rolling again, and I like the color of my office now.
Back to normal.
The first coat of paint looked like fluorescent green. I was like, I think it's yelling at me. I don't think I can do this. But on the third, it took 3 days. On the third day, it just calmed itself right down. So now I like it.
After you yelled at it.
Yeah, I straighten up. And that's all I have.
Thanks. Anything else for Brenda?
No.
All right, fiscal officer, Matt.
Yeah, sorry, I got a lot of stuff. First of all, periodically over time, there's been some discussion of township policies. Do we have a policy on sexual harassment policy? Do we have a records policy? Do we have a lot of this kind of stuff? So as we've been looking around in almost anything that typically, like, I guess, has a policy for an organization like this, the answer is, yeah, actually we do. In past, long time ago, with other trustees, these policies were voted on and adopted without any kind of expiration. And so, yeah, we have these policies. This came to light for Brian and I as we've been complying with requests from the auditors for our ongoing state audit for years 2020 to 21. And what as we've been going through that, and we've been, giving them stuff that, quite frankly, I don't know how aware of them anyone is. What my suggestion is going to be, and I welcome any input from Alan or anybody else on this, but my suggestion is going to be at the November special meeting for, kind of planning for the organizational meeting, we will by then have a copy for everybody. We'll make another copy for all the trustees for you to look at and to see if there's anything that you want to amend, change, etc., on these various policies that we have. And then my suggestion would be at the organizational meeting each year, vote to either amend or adopt these policies anew, because every 2 years we get audited, and it's not a good look for us when it's like, yeah, let me go find that. I mean, it should be something that we are able to say, yeah, here it is. Here's the resolution where this updated version was adopted at the beginning of each year. And I think that would go a long way. And, for the auditors, I think it would be a much better way of doing things. And maybe they stay the same, and that's fine. And maybe they're not extremely, long and specific, and that's fine too. As long as the trustees have come together, especially the current group of trustees, and said, yes, these are our policies. Now, all that being said, we also have to make sure that we keep them handy and that we follow them. One thing that this was kind of brought it to my mind is, there's going to be stuff in there about employment, and we've treated different new employees in different roles and different contexts here in the township, kind of individually on how are they going to be paid, where are they going to be paid, whatever. And we got to make sure that there may be a policy on that, there may be not, but we don't want to be in a position where we're doing something that's outside of something that we had put in writing. So I'll get a copy of that. We'll work on that for November. And
how old is that policy that you found?
Roughly 10 years. Yeah. And what it is a bundle of, I won't take credit for it. I mean, Brian found a lot of it, dug it up. It's basically, it's kind of in the back of a binder. I think it's been sitting in, Brenda's room for a long time. But what it is essentially a bundle of separate policies. One of them we didn't find. One of them, Brian was able to contact someone, I think was it the state, Brian, about the records policy, and that, you know, they had and really all it is just a reflection of the statute that governs how records ought to be dealt with. It's not anything extremely significant. Brian got with contacts of his in other governmental agencies about, you know, like what's their records policy, and theirs is like a lot more specific, but really is essentially the same thing. It's a reflection of the statute, and that's what most of these policies are anyway. But it's something that we just have to have more handy and keep up with, and something probably each individual trustee needs to keep in mind as individual issues come up outside of meetings to you guys individually as well. So that's one thing. Kind of an update on that, of an old business thing. I would just let you guys know the legal notice for the November 6th meeting that I've mentioned a couple times is scheduled, and it will be published on October 19th. So notice for that special meeting is complied with. There are some things that Brian put together for some things to keep in mind for as we go into the November 6th meeting. We want the meeting to be in order and efficient, and, you know, so going into that, we would like the trustees to keep in mind for 2024, be thinking about if there are going to be any you know, proposed capital projects, you know, stuff that we even talked about some of them tonight, like the asphalt project. If you guys could go into that meeting with a you know, a list in mind of things that you're thinking about, and while I'm mentioning it to the trustees, but really we need the department supervisors there too, in you know, anything that you can foresee coming up, it makes it a lot easier. So stuff like the radios and stuff like that, we really need to get into a rhythm where it's actually not even in November where we're talking about that stuff. And I don't understand some things are unforeseen, but that actually is the stuff that we should be talking about actually in May for the next year, because that's supposed to be going into that proposed budget that I turn into the county in June. Now, we just kind of put some round numbers out there, you know, for this year. We've added this meeting this year so that we're getting better and better and better at having these things planned out when we're supposed to. But we actually have it easy because, I mean, a lot of cities, they're doing 3-year budgets, they're doing 5-year budgets where, you know, they're trying to look into the future and figure these things out and get them budgeted that far advanced. So, you know, it could be a lot worse. But if you guys could have those things in mind going into that meeting, that would be really nice. So capital projects, equipment needs, staffing needs, you know, and any other kind of, you know, revenue enhancements. Do you plan on with the expansion, with the updated facility that we already have out there in the park, like with the shelter and then the added shelter? Is there going to be fees? Is there going to be, you know, events put on there that will have charge? These are things that Brian and I need to consider, because the budget isn't just expected expenditures, but we have to give the auditor a good faith estimate of any revenues that we expect to receive as well. So if you could keep that in mind. There's you every month in the fiscal officer report, you get a in the back is your appropriations list. I think we're getting better now at reading that and what all those numbers mean. But there's going to be some carryover balances that were appropriated just because I knew we needed to start appropriating that money, or we wouldn't use it. It's there, and if there's something it can be used for, especially on these these different funds that kind of pile up slowly over time that we just weren't in a rhythm of using. We need to, have a plan for, are we going to use that? What to use that on, et cetera? How does that reconcile with different equipment, capital project needs, et cetera? So I already talked about kind of the handbook and the policies. I think that as we start looking at budgeting, and I know Brian agrees with this, it would be good to start getting into an idea of, and almost like a rhythm of the life cycle of things that the township's going to have coming up, especially things like roads. We don't have a lot of road mileage, but and then we've been fortunate in the last few years, we haven't had to plow those roads a lot, but there's going to be a time where, as expensive as Fort Scott Boulevard is, I mean, there's going to be a time where, like the whole area of New Haven or the whole area of New Baltimore, which is kind of like our streets, like how many times do you patch stuff until it becomes just one continuous patch? I mean, eventually that's going to have to get ground down and replaced, and how you guys want to go about that, plan for that. Those are things that you guys are going to have to keep in mind. And I will tell you that, I'm not really comfortable. I don't like it when budget offices or cities come out and say, hey, this new thing is coming. We're gonna get $2 million from this new thing. So let's budget it so we can spend it. That's not my style. We all know that the county, under the state statute, is reassessing everyone's property, and most people are, their values are going up. And we also know that there's more new building happening, behind Trails of Whitewater on Edgewood, and over across from Fort Scott. That development's expanding, so the tax base is still growing along with the existing properties becoming more valued. I'm not going to sit here and try to estimate what that's going to represent. We do have a resolution I'm going to do later in a little bit that's talks about a resolution accepting amounts and rates from, which is pretty much procedural, but along with that is estimated revenues that is higher than we're used to seeing. So it's coming from the property taxes. So that's a positive thing. It's not, I don't know what's going to be, but you should keep in mind, if that's the case, what do you intend on doing with that? Are you going to build, slush fund for, something bigger? Are you going to use, what we have in services, et cetera? That's a strategic question for you guys. One thing, this is really just like a reminder, not necessarily something that, that we're bad at, but just a reminder that any grant that we get, for Brian and I, we like to see that getting spent in the year that you get it. It's a lot easier for us to, some grants, we don't really have to do a whole lot with. Some, like if we get like a grant from FEMA, like the UTV and trailer, they're like they like hire people just to track that stuff, and they're hound dogs about that stuff, and it's a lot easier if they don't straddle the year. It's easier budget wise, and we're getting better at that in our office too, on how to do that. I think that going into the meeting, the trustees should consider, it would make the meetings go easier, especially since we only have one meeting a month. If departments have requests for significant expenses, if those could be explained in writing, almost like a proposal in writing, in detail, week, 2 weeks in advance of a trustee meeting, that it's going to be brought up for a couple of reasons. It's more informative that way for you. And obviously, you guys can't talk about it amongst yourselves before then, but you can have your own personal understandings about what it is, why it's needed, and that kind of thing, and be a little bit more prepared, and then and potentially be able to take action on that meeting. If there's if a department has a need, and then we hear about it, but then it has to be tabled, it's essentially 6 to 8 weeks until that need can be addressed by the trustees. So I would consider whether or not that's, some kind of, if that needs to be a policy or just like an informal, directive or something. You guys may want to consider that. So those are kind of like the 2024 planning and organizational session suggestions from us on getting ready for that. All right, next, there's and of course you've got the fiscal officer's report that was provided. Write that down. All right, next. So at the last meeting, there was a motion, a second, and the motion carried to contract with Premier to place an order for up to 5,000 gallons of propane, and at a rate of $1.69.9, and they were. So Brian was dealing with them on that. He never received a contract from them. Didn't get the communication he anticipated from them. There was, according to Brian, there was nowhere in their letter where it stated anything about a deadline for signing that contract. That was their offer. When he got in contact with them in anticipation with the meeting, because we needed to get that done, their response to him was, well, that was for that expired at the end of September. The rate now, if you go into contract with us, is $1.79.9. So it went up 10 cents per gallon. So now that he, reintroduced that contact with them, they provided a contract for us to potentially sign, but it's at the price of $1.79.9 instead of $1.69.9. So, we bring that to you guys to see what you want to do with it. If one of the trustees wants to call Premier and say, hey, come on, we voted on this, I guess there's a misunderstanding of who's supposed to talk to who and say what to who, when, and how. I don't recall personally, anything about an expiration date on the offer. The question for the trustees is, do you want to sign a contract that's in front of you for $1.79, or do you want to, either one of the trustees or
When does
or
that
Allen
expire?
or whatever, call them.
Yeah, is there an expiration date on that?
We might be paying $180.
When did you get a hold of Premier when we approved,
I called them, I forgot about it, and I called them Friday, and the letter they sent us had no expiration date. And the thing is they wanted us to sign a contract. Well, last year, they screwed up and they didn't give us the contract, so we paid whatever we paid last year every time they delivered it. And when I first got here, I think we paid it all up front, and then they just deducted whatever they delivered from the amount that we gave them. But from that year to last year it changed, to this year it changed again.
yeah,
So they told me that they expected me to come down and sign the contract. And it's like, well, that's news to me. None of the trustees told me I can't sign anything.
right.
Yeah.
So, I don't know why they expected me to come down, other than they send me an email every month to pay the bill, that I can't sign a contract. So,
But they never sent you, until you called them, they never sent you a
no,
proposed contract
No.
following the letter,
we
right?
just got the letter in August saying this is the rate, call us, and there was no expiration date. There was a date.
I can call down there since I do a lot of business down there. Give me authority to sign that contract in case I can't get anything. And then I can sign that current one, but I'll call and see what I can do to get us back down there on the 169.9.
Were you talking to somebody locally or like at their head office?
Well, I called I can forward you the email from the office manager down here. But I called and I went to the main office, and then they referred me back down to the local office.
And I don't even know if the idea, I'm trying to remember from I guess I can look at the minutes that are included in the fiscal officer report from the last meeting, but
Under Mr. Ice. Got it from Premier.
oh, yeah, that's what it was. It was under there. Yeah, Mr. Hyab moved the contract with Premier Energy, so there's really no indication of really who would sign the contract, so I guess does anyone want to put a motion for Mr. Hyab to sign a contract on behalf of the township? Basically
I'll try
giving him
to see if I
authority
can
for
get it back
contracting
down to $1.69. If I can't, well then,
up to
I'll sign that
179 if necessary.
to them. Otherwise, we go another month, it might be another 10 cents more.
Or we're paying market rate if they have to deliver it and we don't sign the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody wants that. Does anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so we got a motion from Mr. Heiss to
Sign
have
a contract.
authority to sign a contract if necessary up to $1.79.
179?
170.
If
Yeah, if he
necessary,
can.
up to 179.
I'll second it.
Okay. Hang on.
Roll call.
Oh, sorry, hold on. I gotta make sure I get this written down right.
Is it 179 even or 179,999?
It's 179.9.
99.
2 nines.
You can just give it to me tomorrow, or you can scan it and email it to me, but I'd like to have that.
All right. Roll call. Mr. Lumen.
Yes.
Hyam.
Yes.
Heiss.
Yes.
That's second was Mr. Lohman, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'll try to move faster. I believe you all got in your mailbox. I asked Brian to make a copy for this and distribute this. This was something that we got. I kind of randomly noticed it and asked Brian to distribute it. It's from the Division of State Fire Marshal. And did you pass that out, right? So this would have been a few weeks ago, probably. It wasn't too long after the last meeting. And we can make copies after the meeting of this, if you don't have it. Did you put one in the chief's mailbox at all, by chance?
Yes.
Okay. So when I happen to remember when Representative Abrams was here as a guest, I specifically asked a question about in the budgeting process of whether there were anything in the state budget related to helping small communities and building firehouses. She said no. And that didn't surprise me. But I happened to see in this communication from the state fire marshal things about grants, but also things about loans, and how this revolving loan program was created by the General Assembly to assist local governments in funding certain fire department major related expenses. Revolving loan can be used to expedite the purchase of major firefighting, rescue, or EMS equipment. It can also be used for the construction or renovation of fire department buildings. Grant award and non-award notifications will be forwarded in the spring of each year. I just received this. I don't know anything about it, but I know that we were in a state of understanding where didn't seem to be kind of an option. So it's just me just kind of forwarding the information here. I don't know. A lot of times we get excited about this kind of stuff, and then we realize that what's available is a very small portion of, something that, isn't extremely consequential. But I don't know that. So
I sent an email to some fire chiefs that have had remodeling done or a new station built, and I'm getting some feedback from them, which I will have for the November 6th meeting.
Yeah, I would appreciate that, but it's maybe something to look into. Okay, next. I got a communication from the auditor, from the county auditor, basically just indicating what the projected local government fund revenue is expected to be next year, and for us, it is and this is a list basically of every city and township. For us, we're one of the smallest ones. That's expected, and we are looking at $34,085. Local government fund is it's money that we get monthly, basically. It's via the state. It's a small, very, very small percentage of the revenue that we get to operate on, but it goes to I believe it's all general fund, but they instruct on where to put it and how to put it. Just want to update you on that since I got that correspondence. And I've got 2 resolutions here that we need to do. We had a visit from his name is was it Ward, Mr. Ward?
CB Ward.
Yeah, Mr. Ward from Fifth Third at the last meeting that talked about investment-related issues with the township and different options that were there. In working through that question, it came to our attention that we don't have a resolution adopting, at least a recent resolution adopting an investment and depository policy. And so what I have is a proposed resolution adopting this investment and depository policy. It is, it's another one of these policies that really reflects the code. It's very consistent with surrounding other townships. Brian was able to get the active resolution that's similar to this from Anderson Township, Green Township, and it's pretty consistent with that. I'll pass this down so you guys can look through it, see if it's something that you want to
Already got a
adopt.
copy.
Okay, you have a copy. Okay, good. So it's the resolution and then the policy behind it. If you guys have a copy of that, do you have any thoughts on that or any questions?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with it. I read through it, and it's pretty boilerplate. What does everybody else think? Chuck, you're the man.
Yeah, basically, if you do any type of investment, they like to have, you need to give them a copy of our investment policy,
Right.
so they know they can, that we will stay in line with our policy. So, there's certain investment we can do and certain investment we can't do.
Chuck, I think this is a version that was developed about, I don't know how many years ago.
2015.
I don't know, were you fiscal officer then? Because I
Yes,
don't think it was ever acted on.
To clarify this,
I don't remember.
to clarify this, I found this in our 2015 trustee minutes. And it was signed off by the 3 old trustees and Mr. Heiss as the fiscal officer in 2015.
Yeah.
So this is basically a carbon copy of what that said, updated for this trustee board. But the copy that I had was never, as far as I know, was never sent to the financial institutions for their approval.
Yeah,
So-
so that's the one step that we'll take. If you adopt this resolution, you'll see that there's a spot on the policy, on the back of it, where this actually gets sent to the financial institution.
Right.
They essentially acknowledge that this is the policy, and they're almost like going into agreement, like we're gonna, act appropriately as well. Then they send it back, and we'll be able to have the original copy that you guys signed, but also that they've signed.
Yeah.
And then we'll be able to provide that to auditors or, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's consistent also, like, I looked at Green Townships, and I know their fiscal officer really well, and I actually talked to him between the last meeting and this meeting, and, that's what they have as well. And they use the same guy who came here, Mr. Ward, so they gave a good recommendation for him and how he does his business as well.
yeah, I think what happened that it got approved and it got with the minutes, and a copy of it should have been in the policy manual.
So I have
Resolution number.
I have one here that you can sign. I've numbered it Resolution 14-2023. And if you,
I move that we adopt resolution number 14-2023, a resolution adopting an investment and depository policy.
I can second it.
okay.
Roll call.
Loman,
Yes.
Hyam,
Yes.
Heis.
Yes. I think it's identical, isn't it, to the one
Pretty
back in
much.
2015?
Except,
Yeah.
I make sure that, I want to make sure all these resolutions have approved by the board on the date they're approved. So when we give it to the auditor, if there's any changes to any of this stuff, we can write revised
Yeah.
on there.
Interesting, I called a couple other townships, and they don't even have an investment policy. And Morgan Township and Ross Township, they probably about our size, and they don't even have one. At least the person I talked to said they didn't have one.
Yeah, we have them. We have copies of them provided by fiscal officers in Anderson Township and Green Township. Or those were provided by Fifth Third, weren't they?
Fifth Third
Yeah,
provided
Fifth
Green
Third
Township and
actually
Anderson.
sent them to us
Right.
because they've
Yeah, they
received
have
them
their
and signed them.
agreements, so.
And it was following that I called.
Yeah, CB Ward sent those. So
All right, so that's 14. Now, we also have Resolution 15-2023, and this is, we do this every year. This is a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission, that's the County Budget Commission, and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. I come to you each year with this, and basically attached to it as part of the thing, I'm just going to pass this down. There's it basically estimates the revenues for the next year, gross levy proceeds at just short of $2 million.
What resolution number is it?
This is Resolution 15-2023. And, they come up with estimated revenue resources. I don't have any information to dispute anything that's in here. So, and looking at our, the previous revenue receipts we get from them, it's more than it was before, which is to be expected with the way that property values have been going. So I don't have any, I don't have any reason to not sign this, but they require it, and they will start coming at us with pitchforks if we
Okay, I
don't
move
do
that we
it.
accept
Go ahead, I was going to.
resolution number
One-
15.
I second it. Roll call,
Lohman,
yes.
Hyam,
Yes.
Heis.
yes.
Okay, so I will sign this down and I will fill in.
Tim, if you want to pack up and leave, you don't have to sit here and listen to all this.
He's taking a nice nap.
There's and I'll put. All right, so I will turn to the last page is for me. It's not for you guys.
Okay.
This is fiscal officer stuff. So I'll turn to the page that you need to sign and pass it.
Got anything else?
We have to sign that OPC agreement with Fifth Third Bank that we got here in front of us.
I've got that. This really hasn't been my communication. This has been, I think, primarily Chuck's communication. I've got it right here. So,
Yeah.
Chuck, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, the CB Ward came last month, and if you remember, I was trying to figure out what balance we need to cover our services, and he gave me a couple of names. One of them was Cooney, I guess, C-O-O-N-Y, and this agreement, basically, what we have now, every year we get a list of all the investment that Fifth Third plug into us to cover our checking account balance. Because we only covered was $250,000 by the federal insurance, so they plug all these investment. Right now it's 102%, and I've been that way forever. The Ohio Revised Codes will allow us to change that to a smaller amount, like 75%. And basically, that's what this is. They got two of them. Everything is identical except for number 5. And number 5 on the one say the collateral equals in value to at least 102%. And the other one is blank, and you go on the computer and you can put in the 75% or whatever. I certainly recommend staying at 102% because, 75% of $3 or $4 million we got at Fifth Third, 25% equal, $400,000 or $500,000. So I don't think we want to take that risk. Now, Carl told me that if we go down to the small percent, they can offer us a higher rate on Fifth Third's checking account. But I don't think it was the risk. I certainly wouldn't do that. I would keep it at the 102%. I don't know how you
So my recommendation on this is,
Ohio Revised Code recommend 102%.
well,
So
so what this is though, I mean, as long as I'm looking at the same thing you are, and I think I am, I mean, this is a kind of a form contract, and there are some blanks that would need to be filled in that are kind of material in nature to the agreement, like length of term, an automatic renewal, how often that happens. Like there's spaces like with no numbers in there. I'm not extremely educated on this concept. My recommendation for the trustees is that you would get a legal opinion from your attorney and consider whether or not you want to sign this document at the next meeting.
We'll table it until next meeting, so legal counsel.
And he can, your attorney can call whoever provided this and discuss it. But I mean, I don't understand how we could sign something with an empty term. That's something they would have to agree to too. I mean, we can sign it all we want, but if we change a material term of a contract and sign it, it's subject to the agreement by the other person in the contract.
yeah, this is agreement put together by Fifth Third. I'm not sure if all the other banks have probably something similar to this or not, but this is Fifth Third agreement. So
I'll make contact with them.
okay.
Thank you. Finally, I think this is my last thing. I told the trustees that I would look into a suggestion on what to do with current excess funds, related to investments. For me, after listening to the presentation from Mr. Ward, in the current economic situation with the way that interest rates are, it doesn't make sense for me for the township to do anything except for utilize the money market fund option. It's liquid. Its interest rate is similar to what you get in your other best options, even CDs. It's not always going to be like that, but right now, that's the way it is. The question is how much. Now, I can't really weigh in on that because I don't know if it makes a whole lot of sense moving money around in the very short term when less than a month from now, we're going to be having a planning meeting related to the budget for next year. I can tell you that, you have, and it's in the fiscal officer report, but you've got a lot of money sitting in Star, Ohio. And so that money has to kind of be considered as well. Do we want to keep that money in there and put other money in the money market fund, or do something totally
Star,
different?
Ohio is a money market fund, isn't it?
Is that what you're talking about, Star, Ohio?
When he was here presenting, he was talking about a Fifth Third account.
Yes,
Or he's
okay.
selling
Let
you
me-
a Fifth Third account.
Yeah.
But he, I would have to, I still have to look into, like in like APR kind of terms, how that compares with with what we're getting on Star Ohio. I mean, historically, Star Ohio is, I mean, it would get you pennies. I mean, like a few more pennies than your regular account got you. But what it did was it diversified all your money into, like, automatically put it into a gazillion different banks to protect it. And it would, you know, and it's a way that you can show that you're, as a, like, basically a fiduciary of the citizens' tax monies. You're diversifying and you're doing your thing.
So I guess my question is being a township and a government entity, if we do a CD and let's say we put in $500,000, if the banks go belly up and the FDIC comes in, are we only covered for 200,000 or 250?
Yeah, and that's kind of my concern as well.
And now that 250, is that per account or per owner?
In our case, it'd probably be one.
So when I was thinking about it after his presentation and looking down the road at what we're trying to do and stuff, and we got this excess money, is that I would my opinion, is to do a 200,000 CD 6 months, because they're the ones that are bringing us the most money right now. I would do one at 2 different institutions. So we got about $500,000 in a 6-month CD. And then I would price what a 1-year CD is, and if it's way below that, well, I'd scrap a 1-year CD. But I'd go out maybe a year on another CD, just because we do not know how long this current environment is going to last.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at some point, you know, I can remember when back in the 80s, my mother was getting 9 and 10% on CDs, and I don't think we'll see that. But, you know, at the current rate we're at right now, I would be interested in maybe locking in that at least, you know, 600,000 on 3 different CDs and do 2 of them in a half a year and 1 at a year. That's my opinion. Because we have that much money to diversify out that we don't need short term, and you're still gonna have plenty of assets to cover. If you wanna stick some more money in the STAR, you can stick, cause that's liquid, and you can stick more money in the STAR account to get the current interest rate, so we're not sitting with a bank statement that's not earning us a heck of a lot of money.
Well, the one thing STAR does, my understanding, STAR helps with that insurance issue, because the money actually, STAR is like it's like a collective account.
It's a pooled account.
Yeah, it's a pooled account, but the money is actually sits in about 50 different banks that participate in it. And so that's the good thing about that. You never get to the point where you're over your FDIC threshold, which is nice. But, you know, there may be, like you said, there may be other options that get you more.
That would be my opinion, is to look at going down that road.
What percent is Star paying right now?
5.52.
Which is
5.52% is the last report we have.
What's the CD
which
paying?
is strong.
They're probably in the 4 to 5, 6
Why
months.
would we just put more money in the Star?
I mean,
because STAR fluctuates with the market. And so in 2 months, it could be back down in the 4.5. We don't know. Whereas you lock in a CD, at least you're guaranteed that rate.
yeah, it's not an extremely volatile, like month to month, but it's volatile enough where, you know, when I first came in, I mean, you've got $700,000 in there, and, you know, your benefit is like $30, $40, you know,
Right.
like
It wasn't making much.
in the month, you know.
Neither was money markets, so.
Right.
The other thing you need to remember is there's only certain banks that we're allowed to do business with. So, you know, like credit unions and savings and loans
Yeah, well-
might be offering better rates than banks.
Right, but you
But by
can't,
state law, we have to deal with certain
I-
insured banks,
Right.
so.
right?
Probably want to stay local. I don't think you want to deal with somebody in Cincinnati or Hamilton, whatever.
No, but I understand that, but, you know, like if you look at, you know, like Fifth Third, or, you know, we go to PNC or Key Bank.
I would price around, see what's out there.
But I'm just saying, you know, that's what you have to think
Sure.
about is where can we put our money? And, you know, like I understand, you know, the banks aren't gonna pay 4.8 like Kemba is right now on a 6-month CD. So I understand where you're coming from. 5.52 is really good. It could be 4 next month.
Sure.
But, you know, our hands are tied on where we put our money at sometimes.
that.
Do you, with as good as Star Ohio is right now, is this, and maybe this is a question for you guys to consider for, you know, November 6th or the November meeting. Do you want to, you know, put more money in Star Ohio and wait until that goes down? Because you get a report from them every month. I mean, you get it in your
But you
fiscal
never know
officer
when it's gonna go
reports.
down. It goes down, but you're behind the fact, so.
That's actually
I would put more money in Star Ohio, but I'd also look at doing a couple CDs.
Well, it's also not like a mutual fund where you're losing money. I mean, you know, your interest rate may go down within the time frame of a month. Let's say it goes down significantly halfway between one month to another. So you're behind for 2 weeks, but in the meantime, you know, you were killing it with 5.52%.
Why don't we do this? Why don't you put some money in the Star account, just so that we don't have so much in our checking account?
Yeah.
And then price the CDs and see what's current. And then at our November 6th meeting, you can let us see that. And then when our next board meeting, we can
Can I
do something.
Can I bring up a couple of things? I made copies. I mean, you guys look at these.
Yeah, I got it.
Can you read the small print
How small?
right above the table where you got the bounds required for services and the
Yeah.
green and the yellow. Up above, I was calling, like I said before, I was calling to Cod. And we talked probably over an hour. We talked 3 or 4 times, maybe half hour, a couple of times. And I told him I needed what the required balance is. And I said we were interested in maybe taking that money and putting it in Star Ohio and all that. Well, he said Star Ohio is the main competition because what we said before is basically Ohio Revised Codes allow you to put money in Star Ohio and all and everything. Well, he came back, and if you read that small print, right now we're getting 0.65% on the Fifth Third checking account. Well, he requests approval to increase that rate to 5%. And also waive the 10% Federal Reserve requirement. I'm not sure if you know what the Federal Reserve, all the money the savings loan and bank has, then they could put 10% with the Federal Reserve as a protection. That's another story. And then he also said to increase the earning credit from 0.30 to 1%. Well, I give some consolation. One thing is, any money over the required amount is like, if you look at the yellow lines, it runs from 2.4 million up to 3.1 million. So he's saying any amount over that, we could get 5%. The thing is, I'm waiting for him to get back with me because he requesting this increase, but it need to go up, higher up in Fifth Third for their approval. And he haven't got back with me yet, so I'm not sure when that approval is coming. But basically, I get some calculation, using 0.65% and compared to 5%.
Yeah, we
We
understand.
could earn
That's a
like
pretty big difference.
$9,400 more a month.
So, yeah, I guess obviously that's a huge difference. But my question that I don't understand is, I've never had someone come up to me and say, I would like your permission to give you 5% instead of the 0.65% you're currently getting. Like, I guess you had a lot of phone conversations. I don't know how you got to that point.
Well, I talked to him, and I said, well, the amount over our required amount was thinking about Star Ohio. Well, Star Ohio is his major competition.
Yeah, I get that.
He don't want to lose money. So I doubt if we get that.
I mean, it's a checking account. I've never heard of 5%.
Well, I'm waiting for him to come back.
All right, well, you wait for him to come back, but I would put some in Star Ohio and start earning some more money, and then look at the CDs. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking.
For our November 6th meeting, we'll take and do something.
That's what we'll do.
So I'll let you know, hopefully by November 6th, what's coming out of this. So,
I don't know that we need a motion.
No.
Because it's the money, it's not being spent. It's just where it's sitting, and it'll show up in the financial reports.
The only other thing, fast blurb here, when we're U.S. Bank, when we're signing those checks, we're paying interest. Why are we paying interest on the credit cards? If you're paying that bank statement every month, there shouldn't be any interest on that. If they're charging us nickel and dime interest, I'd look at getting the credit cards at someplace else, like Fifth Third, because we do dunks of checking with Fifth Third.
We're not paying the full amount.
We're not paying the full amount?
Well, let me tell you what happened. After I started, I missed a payment 2 years ago. I called U.S. Bank. They won't talk to me, so I can never get a statement to be able to pay the full amount. That's why we continue to pay interest.
Well, that's
But
crazy.
I'm not a signer on the account. I don't have anything to do with the account. So,
it's up
they
to
don't
Matt.
send you a statement?
please?
They don't send you a statement?
I must have misplaced or lost the one statement from like
I know,
March
but now they
of
aren't
2022.
still.
So I have no way to get a statement to even find out what we bought to pay it off.
I think what he's getting at
This
is
is this is the same.
Yeah, it's revolving, so when you miss the
They
one
won't
payment,
send you another one?
they won't talk to me. I called to get a statement so I could pay it, and it's like, you're not on the account, we can't talk to you.
Who's on the account?
you're talking about he's talking about like an old
It's an
old
statement, because obviously you get.
old balance that he doesn't have a statement for.
Yeah,
And
yes.
he can't pay it because he doesn't have the statement for it.
Yeah, I mean, I can call him. Well, the problem is,
He's not on the
regardless of
account.
what they say, the problem will remain that, Brian pays expenses on the credit card that are reflected on receipts, right? Because that's how we do that, and he can get I guess what that information would do would give us maybe like a note where we can like handwrite something and say this is from a late paid thing from 2 years ago, but it still doesn't. He's still not going to have a receipt to match up and pay on the U.S. Bank invoice on that day. I agree with you. It needs to be taken care of. It needs to be taken care of immediately.
Okay.
But the reason why, and to be honest with you, it's something I was not really aware of. And I'll fix it. But but he's trying to do right by paying stuff that he has receipts for.
Sure.
Whereas,
So you would have to call because they should be able to send you that month's
Yeah.
statement.
we'll get it taken care of.
All right.
I think the name on account would be the people who use
It
the
might,
credit
it might be you,
cards.
Chuck, I don't know.
You
Yeah,
prob- you
We
probably-
don't have
Yeah, you
anything to
got
do
No,
with
my
the
names on that
bank.
account.
It's me because I had to go through, it took me like,
I remember that.
it took me like 3 or 4 months to get to the place where we could revamp who had what credit card and what limits because I wasn't the official guy.
It's
So,
only been open less than 3 years, so we still figure out when it starts charging interest.
Yep.
All right.
Within the last year or whatever.
That's all I have.
All right. Good. Nothing else for Matt. Zoning?
It's a record.
Zoning, we have 2 decks, 1 fence, and 4 new residences, zoning permits were issued. I have a request, our office needs a new copy machine. Diane's gonna look into some different products, and we'll make a decision, but I didn't know how much I could take out of my zoning budget. We never spend anything.
What about, you don't have a direct line from,
Well, the machine
From-
was goofy for the last year and a half. We don't have direct line from the computer to the machine, and now I can't copy anything. It says there's jams in it, and there's no jams. And it's been doing this for the last
I mean, you can't, your computer doesn't talk to the printer in here, the big printer.
Well, it can, but we have to come over here and do it, and when the computer's busy, I can't get the stuff I need to get it right away.
Okay. Well then, price a printer.
That's what we're gonna do. But I wanted to know, what is the limit as far as the budget's concerned?
So I've heard 2 words. I've heard a printer and I've heard a copier. What are we talking about?
We're talking about
Printer copier.
printer copier. A printer.
A printer.
Print, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a lot different than, a gigantic machine in there that costs tens of thousands of dollars.
About that. I want a little machine like we have.
Gotcha.
Like this, and I want to see how much I'm allowed to spend.
I'm with you. I heard copier first, and that's a whole different animal. With service, yes it is, with service contracts and all kinds of stuff. That's why I had a question.
I'll give you a proposal next month. Just leave it at that.
That's
Okay.
great. We're having a
Diane's
meeting on
working
those
on
things
it.
on November 6th.
We've also got a request from the zoning commission. They're working on marijuana, recreation marijuana. This election is coming up. They're in a dilemma as to how to proceed with it, whether to do we want sales in this township or not? The other question is, do we implement a moratorium till we can complete the code review, which takes a while?
You're talking legal here.
Yes, I know, and they're looking for some answers.
Well, I don't know if you've read what I sent to you and Gordon, but I printed off what the analysis is from the Ohio Attorney General. Did you see that?
I didn't get that, I only have Gordon's request.
Oh, because I thought I sent it to you and Gordon. Anyway, there's one reference in this thing to local governments. And it says, under issue 2, local governments could not prevent an existing medical marijuana cultivator or processor from producing marijuana. However, a local government could prohibit an adult use dispensary from selling marijuana. If a local government passes a law prohibiting a medical marijuana dispensary from selling products, the operator could petition to put the issue before the local voters. So that's all that said about local governments.
Okay.
It's medical marijuana. This is recreational that they're.
Correct, and
Yeah.
what they're concerned about is this vote in November for recreational marijuana as to
Right.
whether we can, what the township can do about it, if anything.
Well, I guess you have to wait until after the vote.
Yeah, if it doesn't pass, you won't.
If it doesn't pass, well, that's one thing. If it passes, well, then we got a whole set of other things to deal with. So I think they just gonna have to wait on that one.
Till after November 7th, which is a day after our meeting.
Yeah, so, yeah.
So that's all I have.
All right. Old business, all I have is, and Matt went over to our meeting the 6th, November 6th at 7 o'clock, and everybody should have their request in, so we can limit appropriations in the future next year, which probably makes budgeting and money easier. That's all I got. Dennis?
Fort Scott Boulevard is ground down. It's got the first coat blacktop in. Got a report from across the road to the new one that's going in that Barrett pulled some equipment over there to load it and offload it and damaged some of their curbing. So I contacted the county engineer's office, and the county engineer's office said they'd handle it. So that's taken care of. DWA starting a shelter project out here, so that should be going up, and that's all I have.
Chuck?
I got none. We covered it before on the fish office.
New business, I have none. Dennis?
Chuck and I went to the ribbon cutting ceremony at Sedona Reserves and toured one of the houses there while we were there. And then we're going to, since we have our November 6th meeting coming up, I'd asked the trustees to think about firehouse building update. Do we want to initiate it for 2024? If so, we got to have a new contract with Bob May. We had to choose an architect. Usually the architect charges 10% of the building costs. Right now, the building cost would be projected somewhere around 1.25 to 1.5 million. So the consultant's fee or the architect's fee would be 10% of that. So we're probably looking at a total budget of 1.5 to 1.7. That's just something to think about when we're going into our November 6th meeting, and that's all I have.
Chuck?
I got none.
Other concerns? Someone did ask me, because they're running sewer up Edgewood, so existing residents are being told that they may have to hook up within a year. I think it may have been Harrison. People got an extension to 5 years. We'll talk about this at a future meeting because it's kind of down the road. Anybody else concerns?
Yeah, I got one. I got a couple phone calls from the board at Fort Scott. They wanted to know what time frame that they're going to have that second layer put on. Has anybody heard anything about that?
No, and I called county engineers over there, and they acted like they couldn't figure out how Barrett goes around paving stuff. It's because they got different projects everywhere.
Yeah.
And like they pulled that crew in and they ground it out, and then that crew left, and then the next thing you know, there's another layer of asphalt went down, and now they're gone, and it's a different crew that puts the finishing asphalt down. Okay. Everybody has a crew that does a certain job, and so whenever they get there, they'll be in there and out in a day, and you won't even know it.
Okay.
So, but I don't know when that is.
Okay.
But it's a heck of a lot smoother, even though you got to slow down for the bumps going out of there. You can go up through there now, and it's a dream compared to what it was.
So they really didn't have a time frame then at all, like?
No, I don't have a time frame.
Okay.
It'll be done this year. You can bet on that.
Okay.
But I don't know when.
My only other thing is since we're finished with the old fire department, when do you want us to start taking apart that sign?
I just leave the sign there and let them have it unless we got a use for it.
What about the lettering or anything? You want to make
You
it
can take
blank?
the lettering out
Yeah.
because we own the lettering.
Okay. All right. That's all I have.
The only other thing on you, on the Old Town Hall, give my praise to your guys that did the painting.
Okay.
It looks really good. And then the door that you installed,
Yes.
paint that the same color as the siding,
The whole thing solid?
white.
The door, you want it painted white?
Yeah, but
It
it's
is
not,
white.
right now, it's just the primer that was on the door. You
Okay.
didn't paint the door white.
No, we didn't, no.
And it needs to be the same white as the boards.
Okay, because Melba was asking about that.
I know Melba was wanting a different color, but
Yeah, she
I
wanted
think
it
you're
green.
right. It looks good with the trimmed out in green.
Yeah.
And down the pike, they want it purple, they can
Okay.
make it purple.
All right, we'll take care of it.
I didn't get a chance. The windows, are they painted? I know the frames are painted, but are the windows painted and reputty? The window itself?
Did they paint the individual sashes, the
In each window?
framing?
No.
I think it need to be reputty.
Well, it's got storm windows and
There's storm windows over top
there's
of
all
them.
kinds of stuff in there.
Yeah,
We
I'm talking about the window itself,
It's another
Yeah.
project for another day, Chuck.
but next year, whatever. Okay.
I'm happy with the way it turned out.
It looks nice.
Yeah.
Do you want to make a motion? to
I
go into exec-
move that we go into an executive session, talk about firehouse issues.
I'll second it. Roll call.
Bowman,
Yes.
Hyam,
Yes.
Heiss,
Yes.
Roll call. Yes.
Yes.
So our next regular business meeting will be November 13th, 2023 at 7 PM. We will have a special meeting, planning meeting, November 6th at 7 PM.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Roll call.
Bowman,
Yes.
Hyam,
Yes.
Heiss. $10:16 sound about right, Mr. Chairman?